Hi. So welcome everyone. This is Healthy Recipes Served Up on Livliga. I'm Walt, and today, this month, we have
Cynthia.
Right, my daughter. So this is a new experience for us. Sheila recently had knee surgery, which put her in the background in a wheelchair. But Cynthia, who's also in a wheelchair and lives with us, but has her own apartment, which has an accessible kitchen. So we thought, what a great time. We go ahead and do the recipe here on Cynthia's side. But then we realized it was sort of tight enough that 2 wheelchairs maybe was going to be a little tight. So Sheila's directing us in the background, and Cynthia and I are going to do a recipe that we've done before, and it's really fun. So Cynth, we are about to make the slow cooker spiced pork with pumpkin and sweet potato.
Oh, that sounds so good, Dad.
I know, it really is. So we've made a lot of slow cooker recipes in our time, and we really did that initially because when you started wanting to cook, we found out it was really a lot easier if you could kind of put all the ingredients together and started cooking, and then Mom developed all these great recipes that were really fun in a slow cooker.
Yeah, I remember when I was like 12.
Yeah, I think so.
Starting the slow cooker where you guys would help me chop, and then I would put the slow cooker, put all the ingredients in the slow cooker and start the timing together.
Exactly. What's your favorite recipe, the slow cooker?
There's so many recipes that are so good, but I think, sorry Andrew, but I think I have to steal your favorite, the African,
the sweet potato stew.
Yeah,
right?
African sweet potato stew.
It is really good. I love that one
good.
too. Well, this is kind of like that because now that it's fall, we have all these great root vegetables to use. And one thing that Mom really likes about this is as Thanksgiving approaches and with Halloween, there are lots of decorations. And so this is a recipe that she kind of came up with to use leftover decorations, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we can do it we have like pumpkins and gourds. We actually did go ahead and use butternut squash tonight, but we could have done it with pumpkins instead. So it has that. It has sweet potatoes. There are onions. And all these things are really healthy and good for us, right?
Yes, very healthy and good.
And I think one of the reasons is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so everything that we're doing is just chock full of vitamins and flavonoids and all sorts of great things that really help us fight cancer and help us be healthy. So once again, we're doing a great recipe. And the other fun thing is we're doing it in a slow cooker. But when we were growing up, we always what did we call a slow cooker?
A crock pot.
A crock pot. And so a crock pot, I know everybody knows this, but it is sort of fun. We think about saying Kleenex when we're really talking about facial tissue. Here we're talking, when we say a crock pot, it really is a kind of a slow cooker. Mm-hmm. But where did we grow up?
We grew up in Kansas City, Missouri.
In Kansas City, Missouri, and that's where Missouri, and that's where Rival Manufacturing is, and they bought the patent for crock pot, I think, in the 1940s, or actually in the 70s, and so it really has been a Kansas City institution forever, right? Cool. Well, let's see what we've got going here. So it calls for either pumpkin or butternut squash, and we've peeled and cut up and cut into 1-inch chunks the butternut squash, and we did the same thing with sweet potatoes. We've got all that set.
So they're peeled and cut up.
Exactly. And then we're gonna thinly slice onions, and we've got, this time of year, fresh poblano peppers are so good.
And are they the spicy peppers?
They're a flavorful pepper that's a little bit spicy, but it's sort of mild on the spice range. So, because do you like spicy things?
No, I am the one person in the family that hates spice.
Anything spicy, exactly. So this is great, and what's really fun now that we moved to Colorado and we lived in Boulder County, and we're in Longmont, we also, in addition to Sheila in a wheelchair, we have a puppy, a kitten, and a cat in the background. And right now, the cat's about to knock over the phone, so this could be an exciting moment going on.
I have a home health worker that sweetly recently gave me a kitten, and my kitten is having a blast in the background.
Oh, and now we have the puppy on Sheila's lap who's holding the kitten. Anyway, all sorts of great things can happen, but we'll continue with this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put together a mixture of spices. And so I've got a bowl here, and I'm gonna help you do this, but we need to start with an 1/8 cup of packed brown sugar. And what's the best 1/8 cup measurement that we've got?
The best 1/8 cup measurement that we have is a Live spoon.
Exactly, it's a Live spoon.
Live spoon,
And it's an
sorry.
1/8 cup or 2 tablespoons. And so, go ahead and stick it in there and really pack it tight, and it should pop right out. And then to that, we're gonna add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of ground cumin. So
Ooh, cumin.
I've got
I love
salt
cumin.
and cumin. Look at that, perfect. And it's so cool. I love the way it works.
Pack it.
Yeah, so you packed it firmly, and it was perfect. That's what we need. So then you're gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of cumin. And when I do it, I pour on the side just so that if I get too much, it doesn't all go in the thing by mistake. So just pour over the table in that way.
Yeah.
And you can do that and cumin.
You said 1 teaspoon?
1 teaspoon, not a table teaspoon. Yeah, perfect. They can actually have just a little more.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. That's excellent. So just dump that in with that. And same thing, and cumin, we're sort of low on cumin. So
You want
I'm
the
gonna,
same
yeah, we're gonna
amount?
do 1 teaspoon of cumin. It may take all of this. That's good. And then if there's one thing Cynthia hates besides spicy things, it's
I can actually handle more spicy things than I can handle pepper.
she hates
do
black
not
pepper. But it
do
calls
not
for
like
a half teaspoon.
pepper at all, but I handle it because my parents love it.
We make you do it. Perfect. And then you're gonna do a half teaspoon each of ground ginger and ground cinnamon. Okay?
Half a teaspoon, you said?
Yeah, of each of those. So this is a spice mixture that we're going to put half on the sweet potatoes and the butternut squash, and half on the pork shoulder. And I'm just looking to make sure. So in a large bowl, combine the squash and sweet potatoes. We've done that. Drizzle olive oil over the veggies. So the next thing we're going to do. Yeah, perfect. Very cool. And then have you done the cinnamon yet, or is that the next to go?
I've done, this was the last.
Perfect. So you could stir all those up. Yeah. And then I'm going to put a tablespoon of olive oil over the vegetables. Perfect. Let's see. I want one more little bowl. So that's all stirred up. That's great. So then the next thing it says to do is to stir up all the oil on the veggies like that. Somebody's phone is going. And then Sid, can you put half of that in that bowl? Just kind of eyeball it. So you have half in here and half in that bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what like where you guys are, but today in Colorado was absolutely beautiful. 62 degrees, bright and sunny, and I think we get snow tomorrow. So
Yeah, I heard that too.
it's just one of those, it's that time of year where things change. Okay, so this is all nicely coated with olive oil. That looks perfect. So we're going to set half of it aside and we'll use it for the meat. And then go ahead and sprinkle about half of that on over this.
Half of this?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to move it
Okay,
closer.
that's good.
Hear my kitty over there, Daddy?
Yeah. So Sid, tell me about your kitchen, because this is really all made to be wheelchair accessible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to stir this up.
So this table usually lives over here under this, and it can be wheeled out so that when we're doing something like this, I can have extra space. Or what what I usually like to do is I will use it for art sometimes.
Right, so it's just, it's a really
so
good
it's
work
extra,
surface, right?
Extra surface sometimes.
Yeah.
And then that stove over there is a.
What do we say? It's not conduction. Help me on this, guy, Sheila. Your conduction. What's the stovetop?
What did we call it?
Conduction. It is.
Yeah,
right?
it is conduction.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a conduction stove. So it does not work unless you have specific pots and pans on it, and you press certain.
Well, we're losing.
Lost a thing, I think.
That's okay. One down. There are more here.
And
You're alone in the
so
kitchen.
That's it.
so you can do that,
And what's cool about it is, I mean, you know, so we're in Cynthia's apartment, which is part of our house, and her apartment's
Yeah.
totally
and it's
accessible.
all low. And as you can tell, my dad, as you guys have noticed in the videos, my parents are tall, and as you can tell, my dad's kind of having to bend down, so everything is at my level, and so I can do everything with not having to ask for people for help with things. I can have people help me, but I don't need to ask anybody for help.
That's very cool. So we're going to go ahead. So we've
Yes.
mixed all this together. We're going to go ahead and dump it into the slow cooker, which in this instance we have a slow. We actually made this. I made this last night.
That's what you were doing. And
Exactly. And so we have another recipe that we're going to have. You know, the miracle of television. We'll have it all done when this is finished, and it's actually in a crock pot. But then we have a different slow cooker that dear friends gave us. That's an all-clad. What's really wonderful about it is that the liner is metal, so you can actually put it on the stove and sear meat and that kind of thing.
This is the one
Which
that
a
you do though.
crock pot is really crockery, and so you
Yeah.
can't put it on the stove. So we love this. I need to get that spoon if I could.
Yes.
I'm going to scrape the last of this out. That's good. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to slice up the onions. And I'm going to do one, and I'm going to have you do one if you don't mind.
Of course.
And when I was growing up, I was always taught to cut onions into rings and then to dice it. But our dear friend and my college roommate, who's a wonderful chef, taught me that chefs say anytime you slice an onion, and if you are doing slivers, you always want to do it vertically. So I cut an onion in half, and then I just do vertical slivers like that, and that actually, the fibers of the onion keep it together, and it actually cooks much better, and it's much more efficient. So if you cut it in half, and then on the side, and then it's always important, you know, to keep your fingers bent, so that if the knife hits anything, it's just going to hit the middle part of your fingernail.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I know, I have too. But it's a really good thing to know. Okay, so I'm slivering this fairly thin, so like an 1/8 inch. And And it actually works really well. I thought Andy was crazy the first time he
I
told me
was gonna
that.
say, and this is Uncle
Birch,
Andy
exactly,
Birch, right?
So thank you, Andy. I believe in everything. I try and learn from you. I really appreciate it.
He's an amazing cook.
Incredible chef. He
Chef,
really
I
is.
mean, yeah.
Okay, boom, boom. And one more. So this calls for 3 medium onions. You're doing perfectly, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And then, I'm going to do this other half for you real fast.
Okay. I'm a little slower than you, sorry.
No, you're doing great. I've done this for a few years.
Is this going into the
So actually, it will, but we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do the onion, and then we're gonna do a poblano pepper. And somebody taught me years ago, when you see the best way to
it's going
seed
through that bowl, okay.
a bell pepper is just to slice off the edges and the core stays in the middle. I did the same thing with the poblano last night, so I haven't rinsed this yet, so I'm gonna do that. So, okay, it's rinsed. And then I just cut down on one side, and see, there are absolutely no seeds. And then, because we're supposed to cut this in bite-sized slivers, it said. So I'm kind of cutting around the core, and by doing that, I sort of keep from getting into any of the seeds until I'm at the middle, and then I can just go ahead and take those out. I've got a disposal over here, so they're all going this way. And I didn't have any problem. I know some peppers,
Wait.
thank you, Rick. The seeds are what really burn you, but I don't think a poblano is that bad. So I've taken all the core and the seeds out. Oops, there's one still left.
The other cool thing about my kitchen is that my sink is all hand motion. So when you have the sink on, all you have to do is wave your hand on it, and it turns on and off. And that is the coolest thing for me. But a lot of people forget it and turn the sink off, and so then it makes it very difficult for me. So I have to remind people.
So don't do that. Wave at the sink, don't turn the faucet off. I got it. Okay, so these are now long slivers. This guy, go ahead and make that into 2 long slivers down, right?
Okie dokie.
And then it said bite size. So I cut them in about an inch, inch and a half long pieces, like that. And I will say, I tasted this last night when it was done. It was really good, but it wasn't spicy. So the poblano adds a nice richness without adding a whole lot of spice. So this says, in a large bowl, combine the squash and sweet potatoes, drizzle over the veggies with the oil. We've done that. In a small bowl, we've done all that. Transfer to the 5-quart. In a small bowl, combine the meat and the remaining spice mixture, tossing to coat. Cover and add. Okay, so add the poblano peppers and onions to the cooker. So let's put these guys, perfect.
Is that good?
Thank you. Yes. So these guys are all going on top of this. Excellent. And then we've got the onions on top of the sweet potato and butternut squash mixture. Looks good. And then at that point is when I turned this on last night before I added the rest. So the next thing I'm going to do is I turn this on and I set, and I'm going to start high for 2 hours, and then I'm going to go to low, and I'm going to do it for 4. I don't think I did this right. I'm going to start again. So I'm going to set on high for 2 hours, and then set on low for 4, and start. Yeah, did it perfectly last night. Okay, well, we'll figure this out in a minute. High. So now we did, okay, so pork shoulder. The one thing that I would do differently, Sid, is I got a bone-in pork shoulder, and then I talked to my wife Sheila, who said, "Oh, well, I never get the bone-in. I always make sure it's bone because it's so much easier." So I did have to bone this, and that was a little tricky. When I did it last night, I used a much too big a knife, and that was a real hassle. But today I did it with a boning knife, and it actually took 2 seconds. So it was not a problem at all. And then I cut it up into 1-inch chunks. So that's that. We're going to put the rest of the seasoning. So pour about half of that seasoning on that for me, please. All right. Excellent. And then I just sort of stir it all up, and that kind of gets the seasoning around. Go ahead and pour about another half of that in. Excellent. I love the cumin. All these things are so good for you. Sheila, you don't have any advice for us on what? But I know the cumin has all sorts of antioxidant and anti-cancer properties. Even the onion is really good, and it lowers your blood pressure as well as doing other things. The sweet potato and the butternut squash both have all sorts of flavonoids and
Magnesium and so many good minerals and vitamins that keep us healthy. They really boost our immune system.
one more time.
So, and often it's harder to find things that have good potassium and magnesium and iron, and iron can be so good for fortifying, our red blood cells, which is really good for not only fighting cancer but boosting our immunity for the flu season. So
Right, all those things we have to be aware of coming up. Okay, so we got the seasoning on this. That's all in good shape. Excellent. We're going to now put this on top. This calls, I think, for cooking either 7 or 8 hours on low or 3.5 hours on high. Now, what I did last night was cook it for an hour on high and then about 4 hours on low, and it worked great. So that's how I've set this time. So here it may be almost 6 o'clock, so it'll be 11 o'clock before it's done tonight, but it'll be in great shape. So that's going, that's done. Excellent. I think, shall we serve up? Are we?
oh my gosh, you ready for serving up? We'll talk about how to make it a meal. And
So,
what we need to do.
well, so this in itself really is a meal. I mean, it's wonderful in that it has the wonderful root vegetables, all the great flavors, the onions and the pork. But then to make it a complete meal, we're going to do a tossed salad with a really good vinaigrette tonight. You might do green beans or some green vegetable with it. I mean, there are any number of things you can do. But what we're going to do is add a salad, and that's what we have planned for this meal.
And a simple homemade dressing, right?
And a
so we
wonderful
keep the calories
vinaigrette.
down because the stew itself has a fair amount of calories in it because it is so packed full of goodness.
But what we've done will serve 8 people, and truly very generously 8. Although we say a cup and a half, but I think it's even be a little bit more than that. And that's 478 calories per serving.
Right.
So that then with again a light vegetable, or in our instance the salad
It's
with
perfect.
the homemade vinaigrette
Right.
is absolutely perfect.
Right.
And don't we-
and it is great company food too,
Yes.
isn't it, Sin?
Mm-hmm. And haven't we in the past, like sometimes done like a salad and maybe like a roll or
You can absolutely do that,
do
especially if
that
it's like a
too.
weekend
weekend
meal.
meal or
Absolutely,
something
corn
too.
muffin would be
Yeah,
really
that's
great,
what I was
wouldn't it?
thinking was your corn muffin that we've done.
So you can
And what
help
we
us-
really like about this meal also is it's really economical to make. So pork is not that terribly expensive. Shoulder roast is great. I mean, this really, this makes 8 servings. And then the other things we're really using are things that you should have in your larder or could. I mean, any of the root vegetables can just kind of hang around and be there for quite a while.
So you can buy it on
onions.
sale and keep it until you're ready to use it. Like the pork, you can buy. Right now we have buy one get one free kind of sales. So it really is, you're absolutely right, great
Yeah.
for delicious meals made on a budget.
Exactly.
And seasonal vegetables are the best because they're the cheapest, because they are, think of pumpkins right now.
Well, but I will say, the first time your mom did this and said, "And we're going to use the pumpkins that have been, around for," I thought she had lost her mind. I was like, really? But in fact, it's great. And you peel a little pumpkin. I mean, seeding is sort of
Yeah.
the trick. And a butternut squash is honestly easier. The reason we did this is it's a whole lot easier to peel a butternut squash because it's smooth. Pumpkins are a little tricky because of the ridges. You kind of have to work on that, or I use a knife.
But what's one of the fun things, Cynthia, we love to do once we've opened up those
But
pumpkins?
that's what I was literally gonna say. It was one of our favorite things to do ever since from when I was a little kid.
Little kid.
Like one of the kids I babysit is when you open the pumpkin up is you toast the pumpkin seeds and then
Exactly.
you eat it.
You
Eat
remember
the
how we
pumpkin seeds.
would put them in a saltwater bath
Yeah.
overnight, so they'd absorb some of that
Yeah,
salt.
the salt.
And it sort of cleans off the gooey stuff too,
Yeah,
so that you
they
end up with cleaner
clean
seeds.
the seeds off with the salt water, and it tastes salty when you
Right.
And then you just
eat
roast
them,
them in the
and then
oven.
you roast
Right,
them in,
right.
in our toaster.
Yeah.
Is what I remember
Right.
doing.
I
You
think-
can find that on our blog. I think I actually have a recipe
And
for
toasted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're so good and they're healthy for us,
They're
aren't they? So,
right.
yeah.
I
And they're
was
great
actually
on
just-
salads.
just
or
thinking
you can
about
top
it.
This was some pumpkin,
Yeah.
roasted pumpkin seeds
Yeah.
if you wanted to as a kind of
And
a
again,
seasonal
they
thing.
have all sorts
Yeah.
of good things in them for you. It's true.
Carrie
Okay.
made me toasted bread the other day, and I was like, "Oh, toasted pumpkin seeds."
Yum yum. All right, so show us what it looks like, you guys.
Okay, so we are. I'm going to take the liner of the crock pot out. So this is what we made last night, and then warmed it. Oh,
It smells so good.
It does smell so good. So I don't know if you can see. I'm going to actually walk around here, Sin.
Can you
Squeeze
smell it from over there? Mom?
Yeah. Can you smell
I can
it?
smell it. How pretty does it look?
So it really is
You
just
have to
great.
Look on here and see what it looks like.
So isn't that great? And so, oh, I can't tell you how good it smells. So we are going to go ahead and this calls for 1.5 cups serving. And we, using lift spoons, know that our 3/4 cup lift spoon, if we do 2 of those, that's a perfect 1.5 cups. So I'm going to go ahead and
I will
serve up
hold that
exactly.
for you.
And what are we using tonight?
We're serving up
are-
on
Serving up on Vivente.
Vivente, exactly. And Vivente in Italian means lively, vibrant, or
Although I have to admit, even since it is my my apartment, I did try and convince them to use Halsa.
What is your
But
favorite pattern?
That's what I was going to say. Was but since we used it last night,
Last month.
last
when we
month.
did
last month,
our helping recipes.
she said we couldn't use it twice. But it is my favorite design. So I tried to convince them, but she said we couldn't do it twice in the thing.
All right,
Oh,
well,
it
we
looks
have
so
a
good.
wonderful serving of our spicy pork. Let me get this right. It's a slow cooker spiced pork with pumpkin and sweet potato, or in this instance, butternut squash and sweet potato. And then we also have a salad of baby red
Lettuce?
butter lettuce. It's baby red, yeah, Sheila's favorite. And then we made Sheila's wonderful vinaigrette, which is basically lemon juice. She uses water it's like 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and a little bit of Dijon mustard to emulsify. And it makes it very low calorie, but really tasty. It tastes very French to me. I mean, it's really very lemony and wonderful. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on.
You can add a little salt and pepper too. And
I add a little salt and pepper to it. I've done that already.
sometimes like dill or basil.
Right, I love fresh or tarragon.
Tarragon we love, that's very French.
So, again, I just seem to not be keeping things in the bowls they belong in all the time tonight. But we're in the kitchen.
As Julia Child says, you're down in the kitchen.
That's it. So I'm going to put just a little serving right there.
Looks so good. Synth, can you get some silverware out so we can all taste it?
Oh look, all my little detritus on the floor.
Oh, I'm willing to share with you.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. So you want to have the first bite?
She should.
Here, I'll let you go for what you want.
Just for the meat. You do, oh my gosh, that's a daddy bite.
Danger.
Is it good?
Mmm.
Is it good?
Mm.
I do like that.
All right, I want you to do it too.
Really good. It's flavorful.
So
It's the
flavorful.
cinnamon and the cumin together.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really good. And I don't get the
You
Now-
can
guava.
stay there. Well, so just
Okay, everything's great. Thank you all so much for coming, and we
Next
look forward
month.
to seeing you
next month.
next month. And the date that we're doing it is Tuesday, November 19th at 5:30 Mountain Time. That we'll have our next healthy recipes served up on Live Liga.
And what are we
Thank
gonna
you.
do?
What are we going to do? We are going to do a healthy and yummy root salad recipes. Oh, those are so good. I love that. Sheila makes the best salads, and it's so fun because
She
root
really does.
vegetables, when she does them really thinly, they become almost sweet. And so it's you think of root vegetables as being in a stew, as being something that's hot, but they make wonderful salads too. So that's what we get to do next month on November 19th at 5:30. We look forward to seeing you
birthday
all.
month.
Bye.
Bye.